that kick in. One is proportionality. In other words, harm to the civilian functions will count in the proportionality analysis, and the obligation to take precautions in attack to minimize harm to civilians. But absolutely, the whole group agreed on that. Okay, a lot of people are always asking questions about what about civilians, because today civilians are cyber warriors. We did not struggle very much with that. I add this only because there appears to be, in the press and so forth, a lot of talk about this. In our view, in the view of the group, I mean, this was the uniform view of the group. The whole group agreed with this. There's absolutely no prohibition in humanitarian law, the law of war, on civilians participating in hostilities. This is a myth invented by somebody, not a lawyer that knows anything about humanitarian law. There's no prohibition on civilians participating in hostilities, whether it's cyber or kinetic, okay? What happens, though, is when that civilian participates in the hostilities, there are several consequences. They lose, or they don't enjoy belligerent immunity for their actions. So if we have a military officer that attacks another military officer, that's a lawful target, you enjoy belligerent immunity. But if a civilian attacks that military officer, he doesn't have belligerent immunity, so may be tried by a state that has jurisdiction over the offense. That's one. Second, no POW status, obviously. And the third, and that's a subject of great controversy because there was a major ICRC project to look at the notion of direct participation, and Wolf and I were both experts on that. If someone engages in cyber operations that are actually part of the fight, if you will, part of hostilities, then for such time as that individual is doing that, they are targetable, period. So I mean, literally, if you understand that a cyber operation is being mounted against your forces from a particular point, you may attack that individual, that point, okay? So that's an important consequence. There's not a lot of debate over those rules. There is some debate. About the precise application of those rules. It's very complicated and beyond the scope here, but we discuss all of those minor things in the manual. Direct participation is the big issue. What did we find to be direct participation? People are always asking, what is direct participation? This is what we came up with. If you're conducting cyber attacks, you're directly participating, you're a target. Okay? If you're doing something that makes possible specific attacks, you're a target. However, it's not, you don't become a target because you're designing some kind of malware that will be used by US Cybercom. Generally, in a general sense, not for a specific operation, but in the general sense. And then if you're simply like the person who comes in and swaps out the microphone, if you're just the IT person maintaining the equipment, just in a general sense, then you're not directly participating. There are criticisms